Welcome to Audiobook English Stories. Today you'll hear how a broke 2-0-year-old with a heavy accent turned subway commutes into a fluency breakthrough by repeating what he heard again and again. If you've ever felt stuck, this story's for you. From broken English to fluent English. When I was 20, I could understand some English, but not much. My vocabulary was very limited. My accent was very strong. And I first thought in my language, then translated into my own version of English to speak to people. The problem was, people couldn't understand me. In short, my English was bad. We'll either find a way or make one. The desire for change. What kind of jobs could I get if I could only speak translated? Broken English with a strong accent. That inspired me to start looking for opportunities to improve my English fluency. One day, I watched an advertisement on TV and saw an expert called Fluent English Mr. Wang, who guaranteed English fluency. He guaranteed that if you were just starting to learn English and took lessons from him for a year, your English would be more fluent than others who'd learned English for 10 years. How amazing is that, I thought. But there was a problem. Fluent English. Wang only offered to teach one-on-one private lessons. But I didn't have the money. By the way, a private lesson at the time was $30 per hour. I wondered what Fluent English Mr. Wang did to get that kind of result. But I didn't call him because I thought he wouldn't tell me anyways. Then I thought, if he can find a way to do it, I can find a way to do it too. So, I started by reading books from the library on English fluency. All of the books I intentionally picked were written by native speakers because I thought I should learn from the native. There were lots of words I didn't know, but I looked them up in the dictionary. After I read about 10 books, I summarized all of the strategies into a list of 10. The strategies were something like listen, 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 read, 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 use what you've learned, build your vocabulary, and so on. I started applying these strategies, and I could understand a little more English. But the strategies didn't make me speak any better. So, I kept reading books, and again, all were written by native speakers. But they all said pretty much the same things. I kept reading and reading, as far as I can remember. I read a total of about 60 books, and again, all of the books I intentionally picked were written by native speakers. And all of the books said almost the same things. The strategies were ineffective. So I tried a different approach. Instead of picking books written by native speakers, all the books I picked this time were written by successful non-native English speakers who had made their English fluent. I picked and read about 10 of them. To my surprise, all the books said the same things as the 60 books written by native speakers. Except for one thing. Repeat what you hear. Again and again. Repeat what you hear again and again wasn't mentioned in any of the 60 books written by native speakers at all. Out of the list of 60 books written by native speakers, one was very useful. This book wasn't about how to speak fluent English. Instead, it was about how to become successful. Written by Tony Robbins. I came across that book and wondered for 3 seconds of whether or not to take it. At the last moment, I decided to take it just to take a peek at it, in case if there were something useful. To my surprise, if it turned out to be a great book on how to set goals and how to become successful. I summarized that book and the 10 books written by the successful non-native English speakers, and came up with one strategy. A strategy I later named my fluent English formula, the perfect opportunity. I was 20 at the time, living in the Brooklyn area of New York City. Every day, I took the subway trains to and from Manhattan. The trip took 40 minutes each way on the train. The walk to the train station from home took 12 minutes. And the walk from the train station to work took 5 minutes. All added together. A round trip took an hour and 54 minutes each day. That created a perfect opportunity for me. I brought my Walkman with me while on the way to work and on the way home. I normally listen to English lessons and sometimes songs. But after I read the last 10 books written by non-native speakers and worked out my strategy, I used the Walkman to try my new strategy. Repeat what you hear again and again, taking action during these round trips. I first tuned in to a news station. It was NPR, National Public Radio. To listen to the news, it worked very well during the 1-2 minute walk to the train station. But once I entered the train station, the signal was lost. When I got home at night, I recorded the news on a tape for the next day so that I could listen to it on the train. After that, I recorded fresh news every night. I started by whispering the news. But then I began saying it louder. New York subway trains were as noisy as thunders. And thanks to that, the noise created the perfect opportunity for me to work on my strategy. Even the person sitting next to me couldn't hear what I was talking about. So I got to practice the entire train rides both ways. In the beginning, there were lots of words I didn't understand, but I repeated them anyway. In the beginning, the news was too fast for me, but I repeated what I heard even if I couldn't catch up. Often, when there was a word or a phrase I couldn't say, I would rewind the tape and listen to it again. This time, I only listened to it. If I still couldn't say it, I would rewind the tape again and listen again until I could say it. Then I would repeat the word or phrase once, twice, 3 times, until I could correctly say the new word or phrase. It helped a lot. The next time I heard that same word or phrase, I could correctly say it. Following through, 3 months later, I decided to record my own speaking to see how much I had improved, because I had heard some people, at least 3 that I remembered, saying that I spoke good English. So, I wrote down some daily conversational phrases and recorded my voice saying them. To my surprise, I did speak what I wrote down pretty fluently. I could still hear my accent, but the accent was much lighter compared to other ESL learners. My English was even better. I got excited about the results and decided to slightly adjust my approach. The first thing I changed was recording the news once a week, listening and practicing the same English from native speakers for a whole week. In the beginning of the week, there was almost always something I couldn't say. At the end of the week, I'd mastered speaking everything on the whole tape. I was even almost able to recite everything on the tape, including words, sentences, tones, flow. The next week, I recorded a new tape and did the same things for the rest of the week. I did it for a month and mastered 4 tapes of English taught by native speakers. On week 5, I went back to practice the previous 4 weeks' English with 1 tape per day. For the remaining days of the week, I practiced the tapes that I had the hardest time with. Within a month, I'd mastered speaking 4 tapes of English, taught all by native speakers. Each tape was 60 minutes long. 4 tapes were 240 minutes of English, taught by native speakers. The result, 3 months later, as you may have guessed, I recorded my speaking again, and the results were surprising. My accent was gone. My voice was clear. My pronunciation was correct. And my flow was smooth. In other words, my English was fluent. It was a total of 6 months that I had spent practicing my English. But the result was overwhelming. After talking to a friend on the phone for a moment, the friend suddenly asked, "What did you do?" I said. "Huh, what do you mean?" He said, "Your English. It's good." I could hear the word "good" was coming from his heart. He said the word "good" with a tone that was so sincere that I could feel the energy of his voice. 2 of my cousins, both native speakers, asked, "How come your English is so good, but your brothers and sisters are not?" The continuing effort. I didn't just stop there. For the months and years that followed, I continued to use my strategy when I found opportunities. Even though my situation had changed, years later, I developed yet another strategy I called open throat, which I'll talk about in the next chapter. When speaking English with the open throat strategy, my English sounds absolutely 100% native. When my son was in 1st grade, he invited me to read to his class as a guest reader. His teacher was so upset because I looked like I couldn't speak English, which would mean disaster to her class. However, his teacher was absolutely stunned when I spoke. I saw her eyes widen for 5 seconds, followed by a long smile. She watched quietly as I inspired her students to enjoy the book by talking with 100% enthusiasm and speaking in 100% native English. She then suddenly jumped into action by whipping out her camera and started taking pictures. She even interrupted me by asking if she could put a picture in her class newsletter. She later asked if I could participate more to help her in her class activities. How fluent one-word native. This is a strategy which I had later developed that brought my fluency to the next level native. I called it open throat. When practicing, open your throat. Talk with your diaphragm and bring the energy from your stomach. The energy flow and the way of speaking make a huge difference. To do this, you must open your throat. Let the air flow through, and talk with energy from your stomach. You should feel your stomach tighten when you talk. So bring your energy up all the way from your stomach. Let the air flow from your lungs through your throat. And talk with your throat open. After my daughter joined her school chorus class, she told me that her chorus teacher taught the class the following: open throat. Have you ever seen anyone sing with their throat? In other words, singing like that is called singing with a chicken throat. It's far from good. How do you like that? Are you too nervous to speak English? Are you too shy to speak English? Are you using chicken throat to speak English because you're nervous or shy? Because you're afraid you'll make mistakes so others may laugh at you. Listen to me. English is a foreign language to you anyway. Making mistakes, speaking a foreign language, is very normal. Instead, open your throat to speak English. Open your throat and use my fluent English formula to make you speak English like a native. Do that for 6 months. And then when you speak like me, when you speak English like a native, and even native speakers are scared of you, who is going to laugh at you? It is in the moment of decision that your destiny is shaped. The formula to make you speak English like a native. Here is the formula. It's called my fluent English formula. My fluent English formula has 3 steps. Step 1. Set your goal. Take action. Step 3. Follow through. Step 1. Set your goal. Setting your goal is deciding what you want. Congratulations, you've already decided what you want by getting this book. You're very clear that your step 1 is to speak English like a native. Or at least speak English fluently. The word decide originates from Greek and means to cut off from. Once you've decided on what you want, that's it. You cut off from any other possibility and focus only on what you've decided on. Decide what you want is like setting a target for you to shoot at. Clarity is power. The more clear you are on what you